Day with Belinda Chang. And today is like the best one ever because we're gonna eat snacks the entire time, which I'm super excited about. I'm Amanda Puck. I work with Mariano's, and I have Sarah Lutz here with me as well. We're gonna moderate tonight. We're really excited to launch this online platform called Mariano's Meetups, a place where we can virtually get together. And I love seeing so many friends saying hi to each other and so many regular guests during this time of social distancing and sheltering in place, where we don't have to drink alone, as Belinda likes to say, and we can enjoy so many snacks, and there's no judgment, obviously. And speaking of that, just a reminder that except for my stepdaughter, who's only here for the snacks, everyone should be 21 and over. And also, there's a chat button in the middle of the screen, so we want to make sure you use that. Belinda loves questions. She loves answering all your questions. So please ask away, but be kind, because we only tolerate positive commentary in this positive space. And I know a lot of you know Belinda, so I don't really need to give her that big of an introduction, but Belinda is one of the Mariano's tastemakers. She's a sommelier. She's won awards. She throws events like no one's ever seen. She shows everyone a good time. And really truly knows a lot about wine and food, and loves Mariano's as well. So she put together tonight's itinerary, if you will, or menu, and I'm excited to get started. So I'm just gonna let Belinda get right into it.
Yay! Well, thank you so much, Amanda, and I'm so happy to see so many familiar and new faces, and more people coming in right now, which is so great. So here's the plan for today. I have 3 wines from Mariano's. I'm gonna open those up. I mean, have all of you opened a box wine before? It's a little technical, so we're gonna go through how to do that safely. And then I'm going to show you how you taste these 3 wines if you're doing some kind of technical evaluation of a wine, because we haven't really done that yet. And Amanda, we've been doing this together for 6 weeks, 7 almost, which is just crazy.
It's amazing. And when I think about it, in real life, we've been doing it together for 60 years.
Forever. So the other fun thing about today is these 3 wines were selected because I matched them up with some fun snacks. I don't know about you, but I have been pandemic snacking and eating all of my feelings, and drinking wine doesn't have to be at a fancy restaurant. Well, it can't be right now. It can absolutely be sitting on the couch, which is a great thing to do to kind of relax and end your day or start it. And, you know, Cool Ranch Doritos, a big bag of those is oftentimes next to me, or some Cheetos, or just some snacks. And I think that's a great way to drink wine and enjoy a really calm moment. So we have a bunch of my favorite snacks. So we're going to go over how the snacks fit with different wines. And if you have those, please feel free to join us in that. So I was remembering that earlier in my career, I actually did a lot of wine pairing writing. So I wrote all the wine pairing notes for these gourmet magazines, and also for a bunch of cookbooks. So what that looked like was actually just sitting at a table with a dish or a bunch of different dishes with a bunch of different bottles. And that's really how you get to learn how to pair wine and food beautifully. So we're going to kind of replicate that for everyone today. So you can do channel your inner wine writer and wine pairing cookbook notes writing career and get that started right here with us today. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. We also put out a little challenge, and I know some people are going to play along, to create your ultimate snack for one of these wines. So at the very end, we'll get to hear from a few people who created their own snack mix that they think is going to be fantastic with either the oyster-based Sauvignon Blanc, or the black box Merlot, or the decoy Zinfandel. So are we ready, Amanda? Here we go.
I'm like so ready. I want to see you open up that black box.
Okay. So obviously, for a screw cap wine, we love these. This is the oyster-based Sauvignon Blanc, which comes from New Zealand. All you got to do is crack, twist, and pour. And I love Sauvignon Blanc because it's a white wine that's very refreshing. Most people tend to not use any barrel aging, i.e. they harvest the grapes, they make the wine, and then they age the wine in all stainless steel. So when you're drinking a Sauvignon Blanc or any wine and you want to do a bit of evaluation, You want to pour it in the glass. And here's one of the really fun things about wine is it really engages all 5 senses. So the sense that we kind of sometimes forget to engage when we're drinking wine is sight. So if you've been to any kind of professional tasting and you want to evaluate the sight of the wine, you pick up your glass, you hold it just a little bit away from you, maybe against a white background. So if you're doing it in a professional tasting, you might take a white piece of paper and look at the glass and the wine against a white background. And we're looking to see what we want to describe as the color. So for me, this Sauvignon Blanc, this white wine is very clear, and we would say kind of day bright. It reflects light really beautifully. And this all gives us clues about where the wine was grown, what kind of climate, and also can tell us, if we don't know, if we were blind tasting, what grape was used to produce the wine. So as you might know, this is the Sauvignon Blanc grape, and it's a grape that has green skin. So you're always going to get colors that are very bright and high toned and a clear wine because of the kind of grape and where it was grown in a fairly cool climate. So when you get to red, it's a little more fun to talk about the colors, but I'm going to say on this one, a pale yellow is the color that we have in the glass. So the next thing that a lot of people like to do when they're evaluating the sight of the wine is to give it a little swirl. So this is where you get to do, you know, your wine snob pose, and this is what every sommelier headshot looks like. So you give it a little swirl, and if you're not comfortable with doing that, you know, if you do it on the table, you'll look like a great wine connoisseur and someone who knows their stuff. And the reason why we do that is because we want to add a little air and oxygen into the wine. It's been stuck, trapped in this bottle for sometimes many, many years. So we want to give it a chance to kind of unfurl and stretch out and let all the aromas kind of come forward. So the next thing we're going to do is, you know, evaluate the aromas and use our sense of smell. So, I mean, that one smells pretty great. So Sauvignon Blanc, if you're in a blind tasting and you're trying to find what grape is in the nose, always has a little citrus. So to me, there's some lime and some lemon. We also might describe a little bit of minerality. So that kind of gives us some clues as to what's in the soil where the grapes were grown. So there's probably a little bit of white stone and sort of a chalky thing they like to talk about, the minerality of the wine. And then there is nothing that lets us know that the wine was aged in oak. So when you put your nose in a wine and you smell all of those brown baking spices like you have when you make pumpkin pie, cinnamon or allspice or clove, that lets us know that the wine has been aged in oak barrels. So this one is not. It's a stainless steel fermented white wine, so designed to be bright and high toned and crisp and delicious. And this one is no oak apparent based on the nose. So of course, if you can stand it no longer, it's now time to use our sense of taste and taste the wine. Not everybody loves Sauvignon Blanc, but there are a lot of people that do. I know one of the most popular bottles sold in Mariano's, right, Amanda, is the Sauvignon Blanc. And that is also one from the Southern Hemisphere. New Zealand is a beautiful country with a North Island and a South Island, and they grow Pinot Noir grapes and Sauvignon Blanc grapes on both, and Syrah and Cabernet and Merlot. But this is a really iconic wine for them. And I'll tell you, if you're in a room with a bunch of wine geeks, you can also go like this. Oh, it's got a little bit of that like pipi du chat. So New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc is known for having the aroma of cat's pee. Do we have any cat owners in the room? I see a couple. So you might be familiar with this aroma, this cat pee aroma, and it is a classic aroma for New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. And as I've mentioned before in other Wine Wednesdays, everything sounds a little nicer in French. And so the French would say un peu de, a little bit of pipi du chat, and in English we would say, yeah, there's like a little bit of cat's pee in that glass. And in this case, that's not considered a bad thing. It's considered sort of a classic aroma for New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. So that's a fun one for your next cocktail party when you're making conversation. So this is a very classic style of Sauvignon Blanc. So if you're all ready, we're going to move on to the box.
Wait, Belinda, before we move on though, there's questions already. Mark Chi, of course, has a great question. He wants to know if aging in oak changes the color of the wine.
It can, yeah. So oak barrels, if you go to Napa or a winery tour, they always love to show you this beautiful barrel room where it smells amazing and a little toasty. They oftentimes will char the inside of a barrel. So the place where they make fancy barrels is kind of like a couture house for fashion. They call it a tonnellerie, and there are people who study for decades to learn to make these barrels. And there are people who have kind of flamethrower type devices where they'll char the inside. And what that does is give you smoky, toasty, and charred flavors to add to a Chardonnay, for instance, or to a Zinfandel, for instance. So that char inside the barrel can color the wine a little bit, but not a ton. It's usually hard to tell from the color of a wine if it has been aged in a barrel or not. We usually find that in the aromas, when you find the brown spices or vanilla, or on the palate. So great question, thank you.
I want to call someone out. I see Krista McCaffrey on.
Yay. Hi, Krista McCaffrey.
Can I take her? I'm going to spotlight you, Krista. Hi. Hold on.
Hi, Belinda.
You get to know me. So Krista, Krista and I worked together the last few years at Chicago Gourmet, serving this exact wine.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so she works with us at Mariano's, and she works for Flow Wine Group, and works with Oyster Bay. But how many of these bottles do you think we cracked last summer?
Oh my gosh, it was nuts.
It was
and I mean, it's just glorious to see us at the tasting bars at all the Marianos as well. So, yeah, I think very recognizable, family-owned brand. You know, we pull out all the stops when we're doing tastings at Mariano's.
I just want to say hi because I saw you on there, and I just remember the last two Chicago Gourmets when you and I were like just pouring.
Oh, we had so much fun.
It was awesome.
And then you splash in a little Fannie Mae.
Yeah, Fannie Mae and Oyster Bay. There we go. That could be our pairing for Belinda.
In the summer, I mean, Chicago Gourmet, you know, it's a little cooler at that point, but I love in the summer to have something so refreshing. Okay, so we're ready. I'm moving on to the black box. And Amanda and I were laughing because we haven't opened a lot of box wine, so it was a little bit of a process. So if you have a box wine, we're just going to give you a bit of advice on that. And I used the knife on my corkscrew, and where it advises that you just press in, I did a little scoring around the outside to make it a little easier to remove this tab here. And then once you do that, you pull out this handy dandy spigot. And this black box Merlot has 4 bottles of Merlot in one box. And I've also read that they say it's fine to drink this wine for up to 4 months. So this is an amazing way to buy wine. It's a great value. And let's see if I know how to get myself a little glass of it.
It's like the new water cooler because it just comes right out of the
Great. And listen, we've all got budgets right now, and we're all trying to be smart when we're drinking and spending money, but listen, wine is required. Amanda, how did you get the spigot to flow?
You know what? It was, you kind of have to like shimmy it a little bit. It was mine was jammed up there, but you have to I tilted it a little and then kind of shook it.
I did it.
There you go. That's great.
This little bit off of the spigot. And then you're in business, and you can keep this in the fridge after you've got it open, and you can just keep sipping on it for quite a long time. Everything is sealed in a bag, so you don't have to worry about oxidation or a bad cork, and so that's really great. So this one is what we would call 100% varietal wine, in that it's made from one grape, 100% Merlot, and my mom is here. She loves Merlot so much. If anybody watched that movie Sideways when it came out years ago or recently, they made a lot of fun of people who love Merlot. But listen, it's one of the 5 classic grapes that is used to make Bordeaux. It also makes some of the most expensive wines in the world, like Chateau Petrus. So this is definitely a serious red wine grape with a deep purple skin. So if we look at this one, if anybody's got a glass of red wine that they're sharing today, there's a lot more interesting stuff going on in the colors. So what we're looking on the side of this wine is, can you see through it or not? Is it opaque? This one I can definitely see through, so they didn't do a ton of skin contact on the wine. And then you can also give it a little swirl and watch what they call the legs kind of tear down the side of your glass. So the legs will tell you how much alcohol there is in the wine. So if these legs are very thick and sort of slow to go down the side of the glass, that tells you that you've got a little bang for your buck in the wine and the alcohol's a little higher. When I swirl this glass, my Sauvignon Blanc, my Oyster Bay Sauvignon Blanc glass, the legs that come down are coming down a little more quickly and they're a little more narrow. That's because the alcohol content in the Oyster Bay is a little lower. So it's going to take a little more of that Oyster Bay to get buzzed, but that's not a bad thing. So I think Merlot is a really fun one for cooler weather, and it's a little rainy here in Chicago and a little cool. And I love to have a red wine when it's that kind of ambiance outside because it really sort of warms you up. And when I put my nose into this one, I get those classic notes that you get in Merlot wherever it's grown. So there's a lot of black fruit, like blackberries and black plums and cassis. There's also a little black pepper note to this wine, which I think is really attractive and fun. And almost a little diesel thing, which doesn't sound great because who likes the aromas of a gas station? But that is actually a classic aroma that you'll find in wines, especially from the old world. This is a new world wine, but there's a lot of interesting stuff on the nose, which is really fun. And I always thought there should be a series of wine candles because I love the smells of wine, and it'd be fun to just have those wafting all over my place all the time. So I'm going to taste the Merlot. And when you taste, swish it all over your palate and make sure it hits all different parts of your mouth. That's the best way to make sure you get all of the different flavors. And I would say for this one, the palate confirms the nose in that I'm getting those black fruits, I'm getting kind of that black pepper. And then the other way that we evaluate the quality of the wine is the finish. So for everyone who's drinking wine with us out there, which I hope is just about everyone, take a sip of the wine, swallow it, and then see how long the flavors persist, right? If you drink a wine and it just sort of disappears on the palate, you would say that that wine has a short finish. If you take a taste of the wine and you're still tasting it, like I'm actually still tasting this black box Merlot right now. I'm getting some of that pepper still. So I could say for this wine, it's got a surprisingly long and persistent finish. And that's considered a high quality moniker. It takes some great sort of winemaking skill to make that happen. So that, my friends, is Black Box Merlot. And then that takes us to the Zinfandel, which is...
Oh, wait, we have to take a question break, Belinda. Question break.
Yeah.
How many glasses would be in that box?
So it's considered to be 4 bottles of wine. So it's 3 liters. One bottle is 750 milliliters. Here's all my math coming in.
I know, love it. Your math education is going to come out right now.
Yeah, Illinois Math and Science Academy. So typically it's about 5 glasses per bottle, right? So it's 25 ounces or so. So 5-ounce glasses, it's 5 glasses. So for a typical, you know, like this style of wine glass, you would pour about 5 ounces. It'd be about up to there. And so 5 times 4, 20 glasses of wine. But you know, some people drink out of smaller glasses or coupes or juice glasses, so it just depends on how heavy a hand you have or how large a glass of wine. I mean, everybody's seen that gif of, what is her name? She's an actress and she's got a glass of this big, Amy Schumer. She's drinking, I'm gonna presume it's Chardonnay after a giant glass. But I mean, 4 bottles, that's a decent amount of wine. And I don't know, that would last me a day.
I know, I was gonna say, it could be 2 glasses also for some people.
Just kidding. So anyway, to get to the third of our trio of wines, this one is from some great iconic producers in California. They're the Duckhorn family. And when I worked at Charlie Trotter's years ago, I met Margaret and Dan, who were the founders. They're in Napa Valley. They make Duckhorn. They're also very famous for Merlot, which is very interesting. They have a cuvee that's called 3 Palms, which is kind of a collector's Merlot, single vineyard, from beautiful vineyard that actually has 3 grand palm trees. But this is their Zinfandel. So they make a second line of wines called Decoy. So everything has to do with ducks, the duck-corn family. They have another line called Paradox, and they do a lot of great single varietal and blended wines with multiple varietals. So this is Zinfandel. So is there anyone in the group who has feelings about Zinfandel? Like, ugh, I mean, remember Sutter Home White Zinfandel or Beringer White Zinfandel, which for a long time were the #1 selling wines in America, which is amazing. That pink stuff, it was a little sweet at the time. So people have a lot of feelings about Zinfandel, but red Zinfandel is a really classic style for this country and for California. There are so many producers of Zinfandels and collectible Zinfandels every year in San Francisco. Well, maybe not this year, but hopefully next year they'll return. But there's an event called ZAP, the Zinfandel Producers event, where you get to go taste thousands of Zinfandels with one ticket price. It's insane. Everybody leaves with purple fingers and, you know, bleeding Zinfandel, which is really fun. I got to do a Zinfandel tasting with Robert Parker years ago, who's considered one of the greatest wine critics of all time, but it's definitely a flavor and a style and a very food-friendly wine that sometimes people forget about. So Zinfandel has a very thick skin. So when we look at the appearance of the wine, it's a little more opaque than the Merlot. It's quite dark because you have a thick skin to give a lot of pigmentation to the wine. And then when we give it a swirl, Zinfandels can also tend to be quite high alcohol. So I've got some big legs going very slowly down the side. And I have a feeling I know what I'm gonna smell when I put my nose in there. It's gonna be this juicy, jammy, dark, decadent thing. Yep. All the kind of black and red fruits and like really stewed fruit aromas and this delicious smelling, like I could have it with a scoop of peanut butter kind of wine situation that definitely requires a very special snack to accompany. So one, cheers to everybody who is having a little wine with us today. We're so happy to be drinking with you because as Amanda said, I don't like to drink alone. So thank you for helping me not drink alone tonight. And let's move on to the snacks. Are we ready for snacks, Amanda?
Ready for snacks.
Okay, so my first snack pairing for tonight is Oyster Bay, Sauvignon Blanc, and popcorn. So at Mariano's, you guys have this amazing popcorn producer, and you make plain popcorn, and there's the cheesy popcorn and the caramel popcorn and all the different blends. And popcorn is such a great snack for movies and for any time. I don't know how many points it is on Weight Watchers, but I feel like it's probably a pretty good thing. So if you have it, a little bite of popcorn with a bright, racy white wine. And this one has a good bit. It's already pre-salted. It's Pop Smart is the name of the producer. I think it's just like an easy peasy match. I see, is that the flavored popcorn, Amanda, that you have?
We do. We still pop popcorn every day at Mariano's.
Love it.
As I'm eating, I'll explain it to you. We have plain. We do cheese, caramel, and then Mariano's mix, which is the classic combination of the cheese and caramel together. And then we'll do seasonal flavors. I know we do like a spicy cheese one. We might do chocolate covered from time to time, but this is like an addicting combination that everyone at our store loves. And we sell it in tubs that are like small and large. But I think what's really cool about this pairing is that this is so sweet and salty and rich and cheesy, but it totally gets like brightened up by this wine. Like it doesn't, you don't really, it kind of cuts through like the fat, if you will, or the cheesiness of it.
So perfect. So it's so interesting when people are talking about how to pair up things when it's something to drink and something to eat. There's two philosophies. You can either echo the same flavors or you can have something that'll cut through. So if you're doing kind of the plain popcorn like I have, I think you're just doing something very simple and with salt, and the Sauvignon Blanc is brightening it up. And I think the same thing is happening with the cheese. So popcorn, I think, is such a fun snack, and it can be fancy or not fancy very easily. So I love to take random things that people have given me, like white truffle oil is a fun one, and you could just add that to the popcorn. I also have some thyme salt, like, you know, you buy those little plastic containers of the herbs, and you always end up with a little bit of extra. I never know what to do with it. So a friend told me, dry it out and add it to a little bit of salt. And so I'm gonna make my popcorn into thyme salt popcorn. And I think that's a really fun, fancy little snack that you can have for yourself and also for when your friends come. And Sauvignon Blanc tends to have a little bit of an herbal component. So when I add my thyme salt to the popcorn, I now have those really delicious and pungent thyme notes and green notes that'll also be really fun with the Sauvignon Blanc. So I'll also say a fun thing about snacks and wine and also pairing, you have to try everything. So we used to get a packet of recipes from Chef Trotter when I was at Charlie Trotter's, and we would read through them and try to figure out what the best match was going to be with each of the dishes, and we'd always be wrong because you never know until you try it. And sometimes we would say, that's going to be a terrible match. I just think it's going to be disgusting, but we're going to try it anyway. And then it would end up being something super fantastic. So if you've got a lineup of snacks here, I definitely encourage you to try each of the snacks with each of the wines, because you never know where you're going to hit upon something that is really amazing. But one good rule of thumb, though, is that when you add a little salt to something, it tends to make it a little more wine friendly. So if you have something that doesn't have any salt and it's like, oh, it doesn't taste great with that wine, add a little bit of salt and that can sort of help it along when you're doing the pairing. Okay, so that's my first pairing that I really love. I also had an idea about the popcorn with the Sauvignon Blanc that also can make it an even better match, and that's just to add a little bit of lime zest. Because if anybody has a Sauvignon Blanc in their glass, Sauvignon Blanc is almost invariably limey and citrusy. So adding a little lime zest to my popcorn is making it even more delicious with the wine, and also making the wine a little more zippy and a little more citrusy. So that's a fun tip for pairing wines with snacks and with popcorn.
I think zest in general adds so much to a dish. Like we had an artichoke making class with Chef Todd Stein yesterday from Formentos, and he actually, I've never done this. I think I've made like 1 million stuffed artichokes in my lifetime, but he did, he grated zest, lemon zest into it, and it just really brightened the dish.
I love it. So the next pairing that I have prepared is the Merlot with the pretzel chips. So I love these Snack Factory pretzel chips. I think I've been eating these since college. They're such a great snack, and they're great in every single dip or just alone. And Merlot is, you know, it's a really easygoing wine. If anybody's got a glass of Merlot right now, it's medium bodied, it's got all those nice fruits. And so I love a pretzel chip because, you know, it's a little toasted, it's crunchy. I think it's very satisfying. And I don't know, in the lexicon of chips, is this a healthy one? I like to think that it is. And Snack Factory has pretzel chips in so many different flavors. There's, you know, like garlic and everything, bagel, and a million different flavors that I think are really fun. So I would propose the next snack pairing is a pretzel chip with a glass of Merlot, maybe black box, maybe a fancier one, or something in between. Good. Actually, when you have that together, if anybody's trying it, it's funny how a food or a dish can bring out certain flavors and aromas in a wine. The pretzel chip makes this Merlot a little more peppery, which I really like. It kind of brings out a black pepper note. And if none of you are here and I was just sitting on the couch by myself, maybe that 3-liter, 4 bottles of black box Merlot would evaporate pretty quickly with all of these pretzel chips. I think you could also do a little French onion dip, a little sour cream, a little Lipton soups mix or Knorr soup mix as a pretty fantastic match. Things that are a little richer and salty and toasted and caramelly are really fun. There's also an interplay here where this Merlot is aged in oak, so it does have a little bit of the barrel spice that Mark Chi was asking about, and this has like a little toasty thing, so there's an echo of flavors there together. So right now we're trying all the things that we think are good, and then once we get through the next pairing, we'll try the things that we think won't be good, because you always learn a lot when you fail, right? All right, so this is a Zinfandel, and I don't know about you, but I love Cheetos, and Cheetos come in a lot of different flavors. So here I have regular Cheetos, we have the baked Cheetos, and we also have the flaming hot Cheetos. And I don't even mind that they turn my fingertips orange. It's kind of a rite of passage, right? And when I was in New York, I always picked up after a long night out. I mean, I was working, it was a long night out. I would stop by the bodega and pick up some snacks, and Cheetos would pretty invariably be in my bag as I walked the rest of the way home. And I found that a fruity, juicy style of red, a jammy style of red, is really fun with that epic faux cheese dust that is fluorescent orange on a Cheeto. So my proposal to everyone here is a little Cheeto with a bit of Zinfandel, and this decoy Zinfandel is perfect because it's very classic in style. It's real good. Cheesy puffs, that orange cheese dust. I don't know what is in it, but it's pretty cheesy. Did you try it, Amanda? I see you crunch it.
I tried it. So I got the baked Simply Cheeto puffs, which I love. And then I saw, oh wait, where did the comment go? Oh my goodness. No, it was actually really funny. Baked Cheetos are my boyfriend right now from Shauna McCarthy. I love
nice.
It's really cool how they keep innovating. So like there's like the old school Cheeto, then there's like the puffs that they're doing that are like quote unquote natural. And then they have popcorn too. Cheetos just came out with this popcorn.
Amazing.
That is the more traditional, like orangey. I mean, this is like a full-on Cheeto color.
I love it.
I think the wine brings out the cheese flavor.
I know. And isn't that what we want?
Yeah.
I mean, I read somewhere in a medical journal that cheese is the ultimate addictive substance, maybe even more so than some of the real drugs. And I'm not mad about that. And I feel like dairy, the dairy in Cheetos is important to a well-balanced diet. And Cheetos also just make me feel better about life. And a glass of Zinfandel with any of the different styles of Cheetos is really fun. So what I haven't tried yet, so Amanda, I don't know if anyone else in the group has the Flamin' Hot, but I'm pretty excited to try the Flaming Hot. So one of the challenging things with food and wine pairing is spice. So spice can really take down a wine and make something that was normally a great pairing a little challenging, as can green flavors and vegetables, and asparagus is known for making wines taste bad or metallic. So I'm pretty excited to try the Flamin' Hot because I love the Flamin' Hot Cheeto with the Zinfandel. I think it's gonna work, but we'll see.
I wish I had the Flaming Hot just to try.
I'll bring some over later.
Okay.
I'll throw them across the threshold. So it's not as good as a Zinfandel with the regular. It does add a little tannin to the wine, which can happen. So it's not perfect, but it is pretty good. And I think if I dip my Flaming Hot Cheeto into that French onion dip that I'm gonna make later, then it's gonna be a really nice match. And Amanda, you know, because we've known each other for a while, I always have sour cream or fancy sour cream, creme fraiche, in my refrigerator for emergency parties and gatherings. And I always have Lipton French onion soup mix or Knorr French onion soup mix, because you mix fancy sour cream with a little French onion soup mix, and all of a sudden you have a really great party snack that is a throwback and everybody really loves it. And it's also pretty spectacularly wine friendly as well. So I think it's kind of fun. So I would challenge anybody who's doing this snack challenge and sort of honing their skills in food and wine pairing to also try the things that we didn't recommend, because we have a lot of different options. So I'm thinking a Flaming Hot Cheeto might not be delicious with the Sauvignon Blanc, so I'm gonna try that. Yeah, not delicious. Sauvignon Blanc with spice can be a little challenging. You want zippy, citrusy dishes. And whereas in a great wine pairing, 1 + 1 can be 3 or 5 or 100, sometimes 1 + 1 is 0 or -1, not fantastic. But, you know, if you set this up for yourself and your family looks at you a little weird, you can tell them that you're doing the work, you're learning about wine and food pairing, and it's a real exercise, and you're trying to enrich your life and make yourself better during the pandemic. And it's really fun and an easy way to do it. The other thing that I wanted to share is, if you're doing this because you're trying to find a great thing to serve at a dinner party with a dish that you've created, it is really important to make sure that you don't micro taste. So what we mean by that is, if you have a dish that has a sauce and a vegetable component and also a meat, you have to make sure that you taste a little bit of each to put it all together in your mouth to try the wine pairing. Here it's a little easy because we've got a chip, or we've got a chip and a dip. And so you get sort of all the flavors together as you're determining the wine pairing, but you just have to be careful when you're doing that, because you never know what element of a dish is going to stand out. But hopefully we gave everybody a few new tips for elevating their drinking moment. Amanda, are there any other questions?
There aren't questions, but I'm adding to my grocery list the French onion dip. And when I do come to your house, you do often serve that. And I need to make sure that I have it too, because I love French onion dip.
I don't think there's anyone who doesn't like it. I mean, right? Is that okay? Then you can all stay, because we can still be friends. Because when you come to my house for a party, I can almost guarantee you that there will be some version of that French onion dip. Our good friend Amanda, you know, is Sarah Grunberg, who owns Monteverde, and we did a pool party last year, a couple years ago actually, in Aspen. I do one every year, but she joined us a couple years ago, and she made what she called Bougie Dip, and it was French onion dip with like a layer of fish eggs, caviar.
Oh, for sure, when we can see each other again.
Yes, it was spectacular. But also, you guys have in the store, I think it's a $4.99 caviar that can really make something pretty spectacular. It's from a producer called Romanov, and it's, you know, the little caviar jar that comes in a cardboard box, and it sits where the tuna and the smoked oysters and clams are. It's a good little trick. People never know. They think that you splurged and bought beluga for them when they see a little jar and they see caviar sitting on top of a chip or brioche or a little Bellini. It's a pretty fun one.
Well, the last time I was at your house, you had all those awesome like sardines and canned fish, and we sell a lot of that too. But it's a nice thing to put on, like, even if you just put it on a saltine, which is like pretty traditional, but if you mix it with stuff, you can get creative.
That's a good Sauvignon Blanc trick as well. So you could get a Triscuit or some kind of cracker and do one of those little tinned fishes or canned fishes. I think that's a great sort of value to do a party, and a lot of people are going to be super impressed. You know, you're like, oh, we threw together some little hors d'oeuvres.
You just reminded me, I also have Cheez-Its somewhere in the house. I have to go find them. Just go all out tonight. I'm going to be like, you know, we're having snacks for dinner.
I love it. So perfect.
She said that she loves you and is in love with you. She knew the moment she fell in love with you, because she's dipping every snack in her house into the wine right now, which is awesome.
I mean, okay, I'm with you. Hot Cheeto, Black Box Merlot. Let's see.
I'm gonna dip this Cheeto puff in a.
I mean, we might have just created the new hot sensation.
There we go.
Maybe we have to take this onto TikTok.
And Carol Lamarca, who I swear comes to like every single meetup, which I love, she asked me about the Simply. I've been buying those because in my mind they're healthier, but I do like them. I love the Cheeto puffs because they're super light. It's like a cheese doodle, but it has like a really good cheddar flavor. And oh yeah, my other little secret stash buy, Belinda, was the Simply Organic Doritos. So when I grew up, like, Doritos was mine and my cousin's favorite snack. Like, we literally got like ginormous bags and ate, like, we each had our own, and like we'd eat it watching like Freddy Krueger movies.
Yes.
And, they're all here in November for the Festival of Lights parade. So I bought Doritos like to be nostalgic, but then I also bought these thinking like, oh, we're all gonna love these, and like no one ate these. But I think
so, but maybe if you dip them into French onion, you'll get a little. Yeah.
Same with the Dorito.
Doritos and Zinfandel, I think, is a super fantastic match. You also have a few There are also some red bubbly wines, which tend to be the weird things that people never buy in the store, but things like Lambrusco and Brachetto or sparkling Shiraz from Australia, those weird red bubblies. Everybody's used to a bubbly being clear and white or pink, but those bubblies are also like juicy and fruity and really good with all of these chips. And I don't know, like, I'm hoping the next time I come to a party, someone serves me a tasting menu of all these little snacks. You can put together a pretty fancy dinner party, you know, like literally in half an hour. You just have
Snacks are the best. I mean, I can't believe I've restrained myself for the last like 1 or 2 days that I've had all this stuff in the house. I had to hide it just so I wouldn't eat it. But it's such a fun way to pair things with wine because there's so many things that pair well with wine, to your point, things that don't, you know, the acidity, everything kind of comes into play. So at least we're learning a little bit of, you know, what really brings out flavor in wine, how wine brings out the flavor in food, what things really don't go. And I think we're all learning, and this is like a fun way to like experience that.
It's a fun, easy way. And I think that people get a little stuck in, you have to do wine and cheese, or you have to have a charcuterie plate, which we are going to do in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we are.
About that. But, you know, there's other ways to enhance the enjoyment of the wine, and really to get all the way through a wine evening, it is good to have some kind of snack or be eating a little something. And a lot of us have chips around. I actually have a chip drawer in my kitchen that we always keep stocked. So, you know, when we want a snack, we can snack, and it's all set to go. And I don't know, I think chips and dips for dinner has always been a favorite of mine. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't see any more questions, but really nice comments. Bailey, we love you. She always goes to Mariano's to build her charcuterie board. So we're going to send out that information really soon. It's going to be May 13th. Monique is awesome. Everyone's really writing really nice stuff.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, Sarah loves the ideas for having any party. So I think we're all going to be having wine and snack parties when this is all over. Jenny left but said it was amazing. Yes, there's all these really nice comments. I mean, how could we go wrong with
snacks? I think also, you know, in this time, we're all trying to find like really nice ways to have a pretty moment. And, you know, I frankly want to help all my friends in restaurants, but like, I don't know, I can't afford to do takeout or delivery every single day. So I want to find kind of fun moments for myself. And a lot of people are doing virtual happy hours and little virtual parties, or just getting together with family on screen. And I think this is a nice sort of easy way to do it. I also think, Amanda, your display, like, you're gonna win the family party and the family virtual happy hour with all of these beautiful things. Everybody's gonna be so jealous that you.
I hope so. We're gonna have leftovers and snacks, so I don't think. I want to know what people are up to. I want to see what Matthew Pozzo's drinking.
Matthew Pozzo, what are you drinking? Hold it up, friend.
We have to unmute him. Sorry, my bad. Hold on, let me get it. Okay, got it. Sorry.
I'm drinking some rosé, actually.
Yay!
Wow, which one?
It's from my mother's collection.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I had some Pinot Noir laying around, and I had this, and I felt like Pinot Noir was a little too, I want something a little bit lighter, a little bit smoother. So this is from France. I forget what the actual brand is. I just saw it in the fridge and just poured myself a glass.
Nice.
Awesome.
For those who don't know, Amanda, and who, you know, a lot of people here join us on Sundays for virtual brunch. Matthew is my co-host, and so he's epic. He's a bartender at Mitokaya and also a super video guru. So it's really fun to hang out with him on a Wednesday too. I usually see him on Sundays.
I love it. It's so great.
On a Wednesday.
Does anyone else, I know Belinda threw out there, does anyone else have any snack and wine pairings they want to talk about?
But also we want to see Sarah's and yours snack attack.
All right, let's let Sarah do it. Sarah always is like behind the scenes over here. Let's get her.
You've been working on a perfect snack and wine pairing, so we definitely want to see it. Are you ready, girl?
I'm ready.
Yay!
So I made my favorite. Those that know me know that my favorite food is popcorn. So I love to make my own different kind of combinations, like you were talking about. And tonight I ate a lot of it, but I made a Parmesan truffle popcorn with some salt and pepper. And it's one of my favorites. And I usually would add some chive or maybe some green onion to this, but I didn't have any, so I just went with the truffle and Parmesan, and it is delicious. And I can't wait to try the wine.
That's next level. So have you served that at a party? Like, do your friends know about your popcorn customization skills?
I do actually. I serve it at every single one of my parties because I personally love to snack on it. I've made really crazy concoctions. I have a Halloween party every year, and I put a little bit of red food dye into some butter and put it on popcorn. So I go crazy, and I always have popcorn at any kind of party that I have for sure.
I love that. I mean, every sort of, I worked for a lot of like very famous chefs and big names, and every single chef that I've worked with has their own little custom popcorn. So, you go to a Michelin 1, 2, or 3-star restaurant, and there's popcorn in those fancy restaurants, and they do what you said. Although, Sarah, I've never had one that's next level like that. Usually they do a little truffle oil, or they're add a little rosemary and sea salt. But I love this idea of adding like fresh chopped chives and adding the cheese, real cheese, and all that kind of stuff to make the popcorn really fancy. I mean, I don't think I'm going to cook for dinner parties anymore, Amanda. I'm just going to
all the way, popcorn.
I'm going to do dips and fancy popcorn and then let it go. Drop the mic.
Yeah, I mean, totally. And one thing I miss the most about sheltering in place is that Sarah and I are mostly working from home, and I miss being in the stores with her because we would buy the popcorn from Mariano's, like the mix, and we'd eat it, and that would be like our little treat. And now we can do it online, but that was a really fun thing for us to do together.
It's also so nice, the PopSmart, because I have burned microwave popcorn a million times, and it's really fun that it's already all set to go and it's a little salted. So then you just have to add your add-ins.
Yeah.
Great. So Amanda, I know that you also made a special.
I did. I worked really hard on this. So my favorite snack is all sweet. So I love Haribo. It's like my favorite since I was a kid. Like I love Haribo. Haribo, Max Kinder, Frau, whatever. I love it so much. And we just started featuring these twin snakes at the stores. And they're like a sweet and sour. Wait, hold on. I have them here.
What are twin snakes? I love the Haribo cola. That's my favorite one, but I've never had that one.
Okay, this is like, I don't know if it's new. Sarah might know. I don't know if it's new, but they're like sweet and sour combinations. And but I think any like gummy, even if you just have gummy bears, like it's such a sweet sensation in your mouth. And sometimes when I drink like a Chardonnay or Sauvignon Blanc, I'm like, oh, this doesn't really, it's like, it doesn't really go because it's like tart on tart or it's too like crisp. So these flavor combinations, I just want to read them to you really quick. So there's sweet cherry and sour orange, sweet apple and sour lemon, and then blueberry and black currant. But I actually think they go best with, because you're really getting a sweet and sour in your mouth. I'll do it right now while we're on here.
Put it all together.
The Zinfandel is like the best one because it kind of mellows out the total sweetness and sour of it. The Sauvignon Blanc is delicious on its own, but paired with this, it just doesn't, it's too tart on tart.
I love, that's so fun.
So I think like a rich red wine kind of cuts like the sweetness of the candy, which I love, by the way. I love this so much.
So I forgot, Amanda, I had one more idea for everyone for what to do with the black box. If you buy this 3-liter and you don't manage to drink the whole thing by yourself before the end of the day. So I love sangria, and at some point in Chicago and Illinois in our area, it's gonna get warm and we're gonna wanna have a lot of patio pounders. So all I did was chop up a bunch of fruit that I had, and it's actually some fruit that was getting like a little overripe here in the house, and I needed something to do with it. So I'm filling my decanter with the fruit and also with a bit of this black box Merlot. And you know what? Maybe you buy it and you don't love it, but you don't want to waste it, so you want to do something with it. So a classic sangria recipe always has some kind of citrus juice in it. And from this past Sunday at Virtual Brunch, I had a bunch of fresh squeezed lime. So I'm adding that to the black box Merlot and also the fruit. And from last week when we made frosé, I had a bit of Grand Marnier. So you could go raid your bar and then add any kind of liqueur that you have around. I don't like to use recipes. I just keep pouring. So you put that all together. I actually also have a little bit of grapefruit juice, And I'm gonna add that into, and if you're looking to sort of extend some of this wine too and have it to drink a little longer, this is a super fun way to do it. So that's my other tip for snacks and for fun things to do with boxes of wine. And I don't know, just on a Wednesday.
Not just any Wednesday, Wine Wednesday.
Wine Wednesday. It didn't used to be a big thing for me, but now that I get to hang out with all of you every Wednesday, it makes me super happy. So that's the little sangria bit. And frankly, the sangria will be delicious with all of these chips. You can add a couple ice cubes and sip away.
That looks very refreshing.
It's so delicious. It's so good. I mean, you can add anything. You can add a little sparkling wine on top of this. I think I've also got a little LaCroix. We can add that. Everything is going to work in this recipe. And it's a fun way to use a big old box, a black box Merlot.
I love it. Shauna McCarthy is having Montepulciano and Cocoa Pebbles right now.
That's an incredible match. I love that idea. So good.
I'm gonna see what else is in here. Diane wants to know if we can get back those large nonpareils. Well, I think we actually, I don't know if we're gonna be doing the bulk section any longer, but we do have those in the international aisle. Let me look for them, and if we have your contact, I can send it to you. But I always see them when I'm running through that aisle. I forget where they're from exactly.
Can I freeze the sangria I see from Rebecca? Yeah, definitely. I mean, I really love, if you've been to, I learned this from Rich Melman years ago, where they freeze iced tea ice cubes to put into the iced tea, lemonade ice cubes to put into the lemonade so that nothing gets diluted. You could definitely freeze these sangria ice cubes to put into your sangria so that you still get kind of full strength flavor all the time, and then it will stay cold the entire time you drink it. So
I love that.
I think you and I were going to go in on a patent on that.
The last time Billy and I were in Mexico, we had a rosé wine, and it'll come to Casa Madero, which is like my favorite wine from Mexico. And they had rosé, but they made rosé ice cubes and put the ice cubes in the wine. It was amazing.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing tip. So sangria ice cubes, Rebecca, we're going in on that business.
Do it. You guys got to do it. I love it.
Yay. So fun, Amanda.
I know, this was awesome. So I think, I'm not sure if we have any more questions. Tanya, the glasses, my cousin loves them too. She asked me about my mom. This is my mom's glass from like 1960s. But they have very similar ones on Crate and Barrel, I think is what she showed me. So she was going to order some because they reminded her of my mom, which is very nice. Cindy wants to know, Belinda, have you ever had Tidal Bay from Nova Scotia?
No. I mean, I've had Canadian ice wines like in a skillet, and I've had Burring Owl varietals from British Columbia, and I know there's a lot of great wines being made all over, but I'd love to try it. Hook a sister up.
I know, it sounds so good. And Carolyn wants to know if you'd recommend a good box Pinot Noir.
Yeah, I mean, so it's really interesting. Box wines are, a very variable quality, and I think knowing this little sangria trick makes me more excited to buy them more often, because if it's not one that you want to sip in the glass because it's the most complex or has the longest finish, you can just go for it. But there are some big box stores that have some really great Pinot Noirs, and you can DM me and I can send you some recommendations, but they do exist. However, the caveat there is I do, in my mind, think that there are two great varietals where I don't like to shop sort of the bottom shelf. Most restaurants and grocery stores put the most expensive things on the top and they put the more daily drinking things on the bottom. And Pinot Noir tends to be one that really shows its pedigree very clearly. So I always recommend to people, like, if you want to do $5.99 wines, I'm definitely not generally recommending the $5.99 Pinot Noir, and there are many reasons for that, not least of which Pinot Noir tends to be the most finicky grape to grow. So if you're using kind of lower cost production methods, it tends to show a little bit. Like a Cabernet at $5.99 I think is generally like pretty great, but a Pinot Noir at $5.99 can be a little tough. So I hope that helps and answers your question.
You are good at answering any wine-related questions, so thank you. I know I do.
God. I mean, that's the thing I'm supposed to be good at. So
No,
thanks.
awesome. We love that you're available to us. Thank you.
Very available.
Well, this was really fun. We love Wine Wednesday with Belinda. Next week, we're going to get ready for Mother's Day, which we're very excited about. And Belinda is going to partner with Tom Kehoe, who's also one of our tastemakers. And he owns an event company and a floral company. And they're going to pair floral, actually you describe it, Belinda, because it's your idea and it's so great. It's
yeah, so it's really interesting when you're doing the evaluation of wines and you're finding all the different aromas and making it a little easier to describe them so that you can tell people what you love to drink. There are incredible floral aromas in a lot of different wines. So we thought it'd be fun for Mother's Day to have Tom put together some beautiful arrangements that have florals that have echoed aromas in the wines. So, you know, if you wanted to give your mom a beautiful bouquet filled with gardenias, we could recommend a wine that actually has some aromas of gardenias in it. And that's what we're going to do next week.
I can't wait. I'm super excited. Awesome. So thanks everyone for joining. We have so many regular people coming back each week. We really appreciate it. Belinda's awesome. And if you have any questions about the wines that we tasted tonight or the snacks, we're happy to provide all that information for everyone. But hopefully we'll see you next week on Wine Wednesday.
And Amanda, can I do a quick shout out?
Yes, of course. Absolutely.
So for those of you who love this kind of format and are free tomorrow at 4:30 Central Time, I'm taking over the MasterCard Global Twitter account. And so we'll be doing what was previously only available to MasterCard Priceless members. We're making it available to everyone around the globe tomorrow. And we're going to be doing a really fun wine experience. So if you love Twitter and you happen to have some free time at 4:30 Central Time, I'd love to see you because we're going to spend 20 minutes going over some fun wine stuff and some more tips and tricks for MasterCard. So
love it. And then tell everyone about Sunday. You have such a great event every Sunday.
Sundays, and I see a lot of Sunday veterans. That makes me so happy. Every single Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Time, you can join all of us, and we have great chefs. We cook along, we make cocktails together, we drink wines together, and just have a really fantastic afternoon. And this week is our Cinco de Derby episode, inspired by Amanda and I doing a segment on Cinco de Mayo and the Kentucky Derby. So we'll be making bourbon slushies, we'll be making palomas with mezcal and tequila, we'll be making chilaquiles with Diana Davila from Mito Kaya, and we'll also be making a Kentucky hot brown. So if you register now, you can get all of the recipes, and then you can cook and sip and shake and stir and do all of that with us. And there's also a free yoga moment this coming Sunday. And we always have a lot of fun with about 200 people from all over the globe. And pants are not required for Sunday brunch either.
Everyone's giving that a chuckle, including Matthew. So awesome.
We'd love to see you for all of that and more. Amanda and I and Mariano's, we're all here for you to help you with connecting and being more comfortable and, you know, drinking.
Yes, great job, everyone. Staying home, sheltering in place, getting all your essentials from Mariano's. We appreciate it. And we'll see you tomorrow, next week, Wednesday, Sunday with Belinda. There's so much going on. A great way for us to get together. Sarah, thank you. And your popcorn looks delicious.
Thank you, Sarah.
Awesome. We'll see everyone next time. Thank you.